It's almost like a grandpa beating people with a stick. Hello there, today we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Dark of the Moon Wheeljack, or better known for this movie as Q. Now, this is a long time coming for Studio Series because, of course, as many may know, the original toy back in 2011 never really got to come out in the States and was cancelled before they released it, with all the copies that are out there being from overseas. And taking a better look at him here, I mean, hey, it's Q. As you can see, he is a mostly blue and gray robot. I know, quite shocking. Obviously, he's got the lovely Albert Einstein look going for him with that very interesting head sculpt. Very creepy head sculpt, frankly, but he's got the lovely painted gold mustache, the eyes picked out in light blue, and then nice metallic blue for the bits of his hair. He does have a bit of a Cybertronian symbol engraved in his forehead. I mean, there's a lot of lovely detail on the head there. It's just kind of washed out in all this gray plastic that's kind of this swirly gray. I do think a bit of a black wash or silver paint would make that pop really well. Same goes for the chest. I mean, tons of lovely detail work there. It's just all kind of washed out. Thankfully, there is, of course, the blue paint app here as well as the gold on his crotch that does help make it pop a bit. It's just, unfortunately, the gray kind of washes it out. It's not as bad as on Last Night Optimus, for example. I do think that the sculpt is at least thankfully deep enough that it catches enough shadow to make the sculpt pop a bit better than that figure. He does, of course, have the work coat going on there with the tools sculpted in on the sides. I mean, he's got some nice mechanical detailing on the shins. Dig that very much, although coming down here to the feet, it's very abrupt cutoff with his feet attaching all the way back here. It's a bit awkward looking. The arms, I do think, are pretty well done, or well sculpted, with the fingers having some nice sculpt work, and I appreciate them at least poking out with the fingers and thumb. The hand having this 5mm port here is a bit awkward looking. Unfortunately, no paint whatsoever here. The hands are in a gray plastic with the clear bit thankfully being a separate piece attached, so you don't have clear hands, thankfully. Looking at you, Rise of the Beast Mirage. A majority of the paint apps are pretty much just kept for the car mode, which can be good or bad. I think it works for the most part. I don't think there were too much paint apps that were needed with this guy, other than just some silver over here. Or on the face, at least. He does have some nice sculpt work on the inner coat. I appreciate them at least trying to blend in the kibble. Which, speaking of the kibble, it's certainly there, but I appreciate that it's kind of just kept to these two flaps that are, I mean, they sit pretty close to the body. And the middle section is a rather flat backpack. I mean, it's basically almost non-existent as a backpack. So you're not just grabbing a giant block of kibble on his back, which is nice because other figures with large backpacks tend to just feel very off because you're essentially just holding a giant just pile of car parts just bundled up on a back. I appreciate that this guy kind of just distributes it pretty evenly, with these being more of like a coat on the side as well as just over the shoulders with these car pieces here. And his legs actually being made from car parts. Very well appreciated, because Studio Series tends to have a bit of a problem where it's just a robot hiding inside of a shell. So I'll take what I can get in terms of them using the actual car for the robot. Accessory wise, he does come with this very large staff that he didn't use in the movie and only ever stayed on his back, so I'm kind of surprised they bothered giving him this. But hey, it's sculpted in pretty decently, just in that swirly gray plastic again. Just has a 5mm port here, which makes it a bit awkward because realistically he cannot hold this normally because of these car panels. So yeah, as you can see, just kind of very awkwardly hold it like this, or kind of barely off to the side. You have to hold it at very weird angles. It's not amazing. You can kind of take the thicker side of this and kind of just wedge it into his fingers, and he can kind of hold it that way. So that's a way to hold it, I guess, at the very least. So I mean, you have that kind of as a solution, but in terms of it as an actual weapon, I mean, you can kind of force it into his 5mm port. you can kind of just use it as a whacking stick. It's almost like a grandpa beating people with a stick. You can store it onto his back using this little square peg and just leave it on his back like he was in the movie. I mean, it's kind of pointless, a waste of budget really. But he does also come with a second weapon, which is a pistol of some kind, I think. It's also cast in that light gray plastic. Nothing really notable with this thing. It's just kind of very shallow sculpting that's not all that detailed really. It's the most detail you get is the section where they tried hollowing it out. This one also kind of looks a bit awkward in his hands. Just plugging it in here, it weirdly, just due to the positioning and the length of the post, it just kind of floats above his hand. So it doesn't even look like he's holding it, which just makes it really awkward looking. Kind of wish that the post just went all the way through. And this does also just store using this little peg, goes onto the other weapon. So you can just fold them back there, or you can use that same port and just plug it into the flight stand down here. And yes, this does have a flight stand, which is nice to see, because some of the figures recently have been kind of just skipping out on that. Articulation wise, you have the standard ball joint at the head with a small range of downwards movement, but basically no up. Again, like many other Studio Series figures, they really need to take a note out of the Generations team and just make cutouts in the back of the heads so that they can actually look up. Movie accuracy is cool, but also having actual articulation with the heads is way better. Anyways, for the shoulders, the flaps on these cards are on hinges so that they have full range. Interestingly, the outwards flap is kind of unnecessary for this. You can actually just leave it down and it doesn't hinder the shoulder. He does, of course, have a swivel, and he also technically has a second swivel because his elbow's on a ball joint. And the elbows do go to roughly 90 degrees. The arms do sit at a bit of a weird angle with the elbow because the elbow's sitting all the way back here. And the arm sticks up quite far, so it does look a bit wonky and disjointed. And thanks to the transformation, you do also have this inwards hinge, which can be quite useful because you can do some pretty decent poses with it. You can even have him touching his own mustache. Fortunately, no wrist swivel. Unfortunately, that's kind of becoming expected of Studio Series, despite the supposed standardized articulation that they were boasting not that long ago. The figure, unfortunately, does not have a waist swivel at all. Kinda would have liked one, because I don't really see a reason for it to not exist. The coat pieces are on hinges to get out of the way, and here you can see how skinny they had to make the legs to fit him under the coat. He's very much skipping leg day. Now, the legs are on ball joints, and they go pretty far. They don't go back at all, basically, thanks to all this card junk on the back. He does have the capability to do a beautiful spread. And, of course, he's got a thigh swivel. And the legs have a 90-degree bend to them, with this card junk being able to move. And the feet, unfortunately, have no ankle tilt whatsoever. The feet are just sculpted at an angle, and you can kind of move the toes slightly up and down. But that's mostly for transformation, and they kind of lock in. Otherwise, that is it. The articulation's fine. Nothing spectacular and not too horrible. And for size comparisons, here he is with Studio Series Dino, Studio Series Dark of the Moon Optimus, and his Executioner. Now getting into the transformation, I'd say they actually did some very interesting things with this. First things first, you're going to want to take the kibble here. Kind of just going to want to wiggle all this up and out of the way. Take these, angle them upwards, and then the large panels will just flip upwards. Leave those for now. Take the windshield, flip it up. Take the arms, and you will want to rotate them around to have the arms facing this way. Just bend them at the transformation joint, and then at the elbows they will of course join at the center like so. They don't really have a proper seating area really, kind of just have to have everything else around them go in. And you just take this windshield and kind of plug it into the arms, and then you just give it a squeeze and it'll fully tab in there, and that pretty much holds the arms in place. Take this, I mean you might as well just fold these down. Take the heels, for the feet. Plugged in very tightly, which is kind of concerning because it's plugging into clear plastic, but should be fine, I think. Now what you're going to want to do is take the joint at the shin right here, bend it halfway, and then fold the foot in, and then finish rotating it all the way around, and then make sure the car panel is plugged into the bumper. Plug the two legs in, and then they'll just plug into the windshield up here. Fold the coat in, and hey, I mean, considering that's the arms and legs, that's a pretty solid portion of the car that's not a backpack, which I appreciate. Now, coming back to the backpack, you will just take these double hinges right here, and then you will kind of just rock and swing them back in so that these will end up plugging into these tabs right here. Rock it up like that, and then they'll just plug in on the sides like so. And then the sides of this, you kind of just have to give a good squeeze so that they move past the little indent here. There is like a small tab on the inside. It's kind of annoying how much it stops it, but you just kind of have to give it a proper squeeze and it moves past. And then that'll allow you to just tab in the front. And there you go. There you have Wheeljack, or Q, in his vehicle mode. And all things considered, he's a pretty darn good representation of his Mercedes alt mode. It's a very nice, accurate representation of his car. I very much appreciate it. Has tons of nice paintwork with all the headlights picked out, the grille picked out in both black and silver. Even a nice little tiny Mercedes logo that is absolutely tiny. He's even got windshield wipers that are painted. The taillights are picked out in both red and silver, which is very nice looking. And then they also have the silver running along the top here with the Mercedes logo picked out in paint again. And then the actual car model, which is very nice. And then they actually do have silver running along the sides of the rims here, which is very nice. And then the roof, of course, is painted blue because it's on clear plastic. Surprisingly, none of the clear plastic is on like hinges that might break, so I don't have any concerns at all, and it provides a very nice cohesive look. Some of the vehicle modes I've seen recently, that they occasionally do painted windows with clear plastic, and frankly that kind of looks ugly. I'm of the opinion of you either choose one or the other, but don't try to mix them because they frankly don't look all that good. But I very much appreciate Studio Series for trying to continue on the clear window trend. Now, the vehicle mode does have some level of weapon storage, which is pretty much just the same as the robot mode, which, yes, slap it into the peg, and there you go. You have a car with a giant stick. Second gun has to plug in on the sides here, because it doesn't really have anywhere else to go. It's weapon storage, it's whatever. They almost never look good. But yeah, overall I'd say this is pretty darn good. I love the alt mode. It's a very nice, non-exotic car, which I appreciate. You don't really get to see that all that much anymore. Oh, and the figure does roll, as all good car Transformers should. All the wheels are pinned, but they don't roll especially well, so it's unfortunate. Now for vehicle mode comparisons, here he is with another blue Autobot, and here he is with this piece of trash. And that's about it for this video review. I mean, I recommend this guy. It's not exactly a strong recommend. He's not absolutely amazing or doesn't do anything revolutionary, but I do think that if you really want a Q, he's a good figure. He's not bad by any means. The kibble management is okay on him. None of the kibble really gets in the way, surprisingly, and I mean, quality-wise, all the joints are fairly stiff and plastic is solid. I mean, you can squish them pretty good. None of the clear plastic is a concern. Color matching with paint, and the paintwork is pretty decent. Unfortunately, not that much silver, but hey, I do think the paintwork that they did put on him is very effective. I do wish he was a more metallic hue of a blue. Again, I think that's just a problem they have lately where they don't really use metallic plastics, and it kind of just makes some of the cars look a bit dull. Hopefully they'll fix that eventually. I do think the accessories are lacking, unfortunately. These accessories are just lame. They don't really do anything. They're not useful at all, and they just look weird in his hands. I do think that the original toy has a much better accessory kit where he just straight up has a bunch of tools that he can use. I wish more of that was included with him. It would give off the inventor vibe way better. But overall, I'd say it's still a pretty decent figure. If you can get it on sale, I'd recommend it highly. Otherwise, it's just an okay figure. I mean, it's at least better than this thing. But that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And please feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I take pictures of figures, sometimes to tease a video, sometimes just for the fun of it. But that'll be all. Have a good day.